On behalf of the entire board of directors, I'd like to welcome you to our July events and issues on infrastructure in the New River Valley. Today's program will end at 9:30. Opportunities for questions will be available towards the end of the program at 9:20, so please hold your questions. And we would like to shout out a special thank you to our sponsor, First Bank Trust. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Kelly Kendrick, Senior Vice President, Regional Manager for First Bank Trust in the Blue Ridge region. Please welcome Kelly to the podium.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Kendrick, Senior Vice President and Regional Manager for First Bank and Trust, and we're proud to sponsor Eggs and Issues this morning. First Bank and Trust is a community bank based in Abington, where we take the deposits that we gather in the community and put it back to our formal loans. And so I'd like to introduce with you today several of my colleagues from First Bank and Trust that are here. We have Alan Lookout, Taylor Ritter, Julie McMichael, Scott Arnett, and I don't think I saw anybody else. Did I miss anybody? Thank you all for being here with me this morning. So today's topic, infrastructure, is more than just roads and bridges. It's the backbone of local commerce. First Bank and Trust understands that strong infrastructure can help grow businesses and make our entire region more attractive for investment. It also helps attract and retain people to our area. The impact is huge, from small business loans to new construction financing to commercial real estate in growth areas. These panelists coming together today and sharing with you our plan for progress increases confidence in our community to further invest, expand, and hire. We have so many opportunities, and the best is yet to come. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to being a partner in the community growth. So today's moderator is Kevin Byrd. Kevin is the Executive Director of New River Valley Regional Commission. He began working for the Commission in 2005 as a regional planner and was appointed Executive Director in October 2009. He has over 20 years of community development experience in the public sector in the town, county, and regional levels of government, along with private sector consulting experience. Kevin also serves on the Executive Committee for the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and is the Chair of the Infrastructure Committee. Kevin, welcome up to the podium.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is an excellent turnout for July Eggs and Issues. This is a month where we have often taken off the month for vacations and everything else, but we have so much happening in infrastructure. There's a lot of interest in having this topic. So I'm going to invite you all into our Infrastructure Committee meeting this month. This is a group that gets together every month, and it's the most sought-after scheduled time because we meet on Friday mornings at 8:30. Everybody loves it. But actually, we have a really good turnout. And our format is interesting, so I really would invite any of you all to join our conversations every month. Fourth Friday, 8:30. We have a Zoom option as well if you can't join in person. But this committee has been meeting for probably over 10 years with the Chamber. And it started under Sharon Scott's leadership. And I remember starting this committee with her, and we had just a couple of areas within infrastructure we were talking about, bikes and roads. And our format just wasn't clear. We couldn't figure out how to get more people in the Chamber involved and engaged. And what we ended up doing was just a roundtable discussion. We have a list of topics that we move through once a month. And if we have a representative that's there to talk about the issue, then we learn a whole lot. It's one of my favorite meetings I get to go to every month because I learn so much from each of these panelists and the other people that participate with our discussions. So that's a good plug for 8:30 Friday morning meeting, all right? So we're going to hop right to the panel, and I've asked each of our panelists if they would to introduce themselves, share with you the organization they work with, perhaps how long they've been in the field or their role, and to share something that's unique or interesting about the work that they do that you all may not be aware of. So, Whitney, would you like to start us off, and we'll walk down the line?
Sure, Ed. Good morning, everybody. My name is Whitney Czelusniak, and I'm the Economic and Business Development Manager for Appalachian Power. I cover our Virginia service territory as well as the city of Kingsport, Tennessee. In my role, I help to support the needs of existing and new businesses who are looking to grow and invest in our communities. My background is primarily in economic development. Proud Hokie, spent several years working at the Virginia Tech Office of Economic Development. It was formerly known back in the day. And then I transitioned and also spent several years in local government in my home region in Southwest Virginia. I'm a native of Smith County and worked in Washington County for many years. I transitioned to this role in the pandemic period in 21. And it was really a great opportunity for me to return back to more regional-based work across Virginia. Something that's probably maybe interesting to you all about the job, I think many of you are probably familiar with the role that electric utilities play in supporting the attraction of new businesses to communities. That's, whether it's responding to a request for information when a prospect's looking at a site, participating in a site visit, and putting together a service solution and value proposition for that customer. What you may not realize is the role that Appalachian Power is playing to help support a more holistic role in economic development in our communities. For example, we have research divisions that can compile information, prepare mapping, that can support our localities and our regional economic development organizations. Some of those databases can be pretty cost prohibitive to a small one-person department in some of our more rural localities. So that's a service that we're just providing free of charge to help those communities have some of the information that they need to create their own marketing materials and value propositions to support their sites. We're also doing a lot of work in the areas of promoting site development. That's something you're going to hear me talking a lot about today. It's really exciting and an important work that we're doing, but a lot of that is really helping communities have a product that's competitive for a rapidly shifting market. We also do a lot of community development work too. We work with different members of our external affairs teams, and our foundation helps support those efforts as well. So if you hear a takeaway, we're a little bit more broader than just going out and helping tell a story to attract a business. It's really about helping to promote a long-term community viability.
So my name is Todd Robertson. I'm the president and founder of Stateson Homes. We've been in business, I think we started about 14 years ago. I've been in the industry for about 33 years. Some kind of new things that are happening with us that are kind of interesting. We will have delivered our 1,000th home in, I think, about 45 days. We're on schedule for that here in the New River Valley of the Roanoke Valley since our founding. So we're pretty excited about that. Anyone that follows us will see a lot of that on Instagram. We'll certainly promote it. We're a local company. We have about 41 employees today. We have 6 open positions that we're hiring for. And these are all folks that are spending money at our farmers market, our restaurants, our coffee shop, our local company. We have also just recently opened up our own mortgage company. And we have been running financing rates, and that's been an exciting addition and an exciting tool helping us to sell and market our homes.
Good morning. I'm Mike Stewart. I'm the Executive Director for Roanoke-Blacksburg Regional Airport. We've got my marketing person right here, the Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport for your reason. I've been Executive Director at Roanoke for about the last 3.5 years. I formerly worked about 42 years in the industry. I started with a little airline called Piedmont Airlines that was Winston-Salem based, that most of you don't even remember because you're too young. But went through the airline industry, spent about half my career there, switched over to the airports. I think after about my 3rd bankruptcy, I got on the airport side, which was a little more stable. Spent really about 15 years at the Washington Airport Authority. Was most recently vice president for the authority and ran a little airport out in the country there. They call Dallas International. 3.5 years ago, this job opened up. And I'd always aspired to be Keith Holt, but that Roanoke's closest I could get. I've enjoyed moving down and kind of coming back there. I was U.S. Air Station Manager at ROA back in the early 90s. So I was there when the airport was fairly new, still growing. And it's kind of refreshing that in 2024, we boarded more passengers than ever have at the airport. So, excuse me, it's a growing area. We enjoy doing a lot of things. I'd like to give you something exciting that you may not know. Did you know I don't sell tickets? Or check bags? Or your airplane? Or decide where they fly? Believe it or not, we spend a tremendous amount of time answering those questions. And the funny part is, we get complaints about high fares. Well, out here at high fare, I got $4.50. That's called passenger service charge. That's all that comes to the airport. So those BFCs, as they call them, and whatever we raise in our parking lot and our concessions is how we pay for all those improvements out there, all the federal grants, state grants. So we need all the help we can get. And I guess it would be comical if it wasn't so serious, but we get a lot of people that blame the airport for flight problems. They're really hell. And then take off and drive 3 hours each way to unnamed airports. And they end up flying the same airline and mess them over to start with. So I would tell you that the next time you get ready to fly, and you look back how you got messed over, change airlines, not airlines, and fly for the future. Thank you.
Does it mean I'm old because I remember the old I'll take it. Good morning, I'm Barry Jackson. I'm an energy and economic development consultant with Proffitt. I've been with them a whopping 4 months. Retired from Appalachian Power after a 44-year career in December. I failed to retire pretty quickly. But I got to know her at Proffitt they worked did a lot of the civil engineering surveying work for the Appalachian Power Transmission Project, the station, the transmission line rebuilds, etc. Got to know them very well and kind of come in for, so it's easy to say yes. What we realized is that every site development project has some energy aspect to it. But more recently, the development projects are focused on energy, such as solar farms, such as data centers. And so it became a really good fit to come in to her Proffitt and to immediately working on some of the exciting data center projects that are around. And I don't know how you all feel about data centers, but if you happen to have one of these in your pocket, you like data centers. Because you can look on this and find any answer you want just by Googling it. And because of that, the data center industry has really exploded into a need that we have to satisfy if we want to continue to be able to use these. So it's a good fit. The things you may not know about is the data centers want everything yesterday, and it still takes 2 years to get a site developed. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. We were talking a little earlier about the fact that you really don't want to make a mistake when you're talking about the environment. And so that's why we really need to remain diligent on that. And that's one of the good things. Stay tuned. It's an exciting time in that industry. It's an exciting time to be a part of it. Taking old things such as site development, turning it over and turn it into the exciting things. Stay tuned.
Good morning. My name is Keith Holt. I am the Executive Director of the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport right here in Blacksburg. So it's fabulous to have a panel of which we have 2 airports on, and that's not unique across the country because airports are such a large part of the transportation infrastructure that we have in this nation. Now, Mike and I, we don't compete. We work together frequently. He's got the airline service. We are a primarily general aviation. He's never had to call me up on the phone and say, hey, why'd you steal American Airlines? It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. We serve a different segment. The Virginia Tech Airport, as I said, we are a general aviation airport. We are run and operated by the Virginia Tech Montgomery Regional Airport Authority, of which that is comprised of Montgomery County, the town of Christiansburg, the town of Blacksburg, and Virginia Tech. So those are the 4 localities of which that I report to as the airport director. I've been airport director there since 2020. Started right during COVID. Fun fact on that, I started, and the first day of which I started, the runway was still closed. We had a closed runway the first day I started because we were doing our runway extension. We ended up doing the runway extension and having that open the next month after I started. So the first day I started at that airport, I started with an airport which did not have an operating runway. So we extended the runway to 5,500 feet in 2020. That was a game changer for us. That really helped open up a lot of doors to a lot of corporate aircraft coming into our region. These are aircraft of which that are coming to Blacksburg for a purpose, for a reason. They're coming here to do business somewhere, likely with some people that are in this room. And we see an awful lot of those corporate aircraft. We have 47 base aircraft out at the airport. 4 of those are jet aircraft. The remainder are single-engine piston. We have 2 operating flight instructors at the airport, so if you're interested in learning to fly, it's a great place to do that. Additional fun fact about the airport, we were the first airport in the state of Virginia to have an electric aircraft charging station. More fun fact, it has been used. So we have had a fully electric airplane on 3 different occasions, fly to the airport, plug in, take a charge, and fly back out, completely electric. Things are changing in aviation. Things have always evolved. If you think about it, aviation is still relatively young from a transportation mode, and things are constantly still evolving. We're seeing that all the time in our industry. Change is slow with the federal government, but certainly with a lot of the companies of which they're doing new and advanced technologies, we're seeing that happen. That's only going to make it better. It's going to make it better for us, it's going to make it better for you, it's going to make it better for the entire travel company. So, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Good morning. I'm David Clarke. I'm the resident engineer for Virginia Department of Transportation, Christiansburg office, and shocked to learn that infrastructure is more than roads and bridges. That's how wonderful it is. I've been at VDOT for 35 years. 22 as resident engineer in Christiansburg. 10 years before that, the assistant resident engineer in Christiansburg. So I spent my entire VDOT career here in the very first part of Salem and the rest of Christiansburg. I have a civil engineering degree from Virginia Tech. Grew up in the Williamsburg, Newport News area, but came out here and never went back to the eastern part of the state. Let me get out here. Kind of interesting fact maybe about VDOT that you probably would guess maybe if you thought about it, is that Virginia has the 3rd largest state highway system in the United States, behind only Texas and North Carolina. And that's because we maintain just a few other states, the secondary system. So VDOT maintains everything from the interstate, primaries, and gravel roads in these counties with maybe 20 vehicles a day. So that's kind of our charge. It's been that way since 1932, when VDOT asked the counties if they'd like to turn over their secondary system. The goal was to get no schools closed due to mud. That was the reason. We still haven't closed for snow, and it still gets muddy, but I don't think we haven't closed that much for mud. But because we had that history of taking over County roads, especially in the secondary system, we still maintain a very close relationship with the county. I see all of my Montgomery County friends here. And I go to board meetings, board of supervisors meetings every month for each county. My office covers not just Montgomery, but Giles, Pulaski, and Floyd. So Montgomery has about 550-something miles of centerline miles of roadway between the secondary and primary system. The towns do maintain their own roads. Blacksburg, Christiansburg, Radford, all maintain their own road system. But anything out in the county, whether it be Price's Fork Road or Dry Run Road between Catawba Road and Mount Tabor, which we had to put back together after some pretty severe storms. We've got it all. We've got about 100 people that work in our area, but that's from 4 counties. Keith and I were talking, it's a little bit like a farm. It's a very, very large farm. But there's always something to do, always fence to be mended, there's potholes to be filled, or dishes to be done. It all seems to need to be done at the same time. That is, it's what's interesting about the work. There's always something different. You come into the plan for the day and you rarely end up doing that.
Well, thanks to you, each of you, for introducing yourselves and sharing something interesting. If you're listening closely, there was some nuggets in there. 1,000 homes in Stateson, and local builder that's really working hard to address our housing shortages, and the highest boarded passengers at Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport in history. That's remarkable. And you also learned that Keith was hired to run an airport that had no runway. I don't know what you were hired to do, Keith, but you did the job and you got to get your job and runways open again. That's terrific. I'm playing an informed moderator role today and just share a little bit about passenger rail. And one interesting thing on the passenger rail project that you all probably been following along the news is that we have a date now of anticipated service of August of 2027. And if you drive by that site, they have the ability to work 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And they are doing that level of work. What's interesting, having driven by there, is I guess it was late winter, early spring, all the trees were cut within a week's time frame. It stirred up some questions and comments in the community. Everybody was wondering why the trees gone. But as Larry mentioned, economic development has an environmental aspect to it that you have to pay close attention to. And that's because of the long-eared bat is a protected species. And that's something you have to pay attention to. So we have windows of time when we can make things happen. It's kind of like when our university students leave the community, see all the infrastructure projects happening this summer. And the bat is leaves. That's when we can do our infrastructure projects. So passenger rail is doing extremely well now. That was started officially as an authority locally in 2022. And the members of that authority is Montgomery, Giles, Pulaski counties, City of Bradford, Blacksburg, Christiansburg, Town of Pulaski, and Virginia Tech, and Rap University. So there's 9 members of that and 7 local governments that are contributing. And we are getting architectural engineering drawings done right now for that station. And we have a meeting in August where we hope to have some preliminary work from our A&E team on that. And we'll have more of a timeline on our remodel of the building, hopefully late summer, early fall. So the next item I have for our panel is for each of them to talk about what's big right now. What are they working on that's big that you all should know about? I'm going to start in the middle, maybe Larry, if you'll go, and then we'll go Keith, David, and come back to Whitney this way.
Well, I mentioned the data center issue, and everybody wants to run until it starts getting built here on town. The thing that most people don't understand is not all data centers need to be these mega campuses. They can be in a warehouse, a abandoned warehouse. They can be in the backyard. When the cryptocurrency thing is when people put these storage buildings in the backyard and do that. But that's not really where the industry's going right now. The Googles, the Amazons, they want bigger, because if you're going to go through the hassle of actually siting a data center, then you want it to be as big as you can. The challenge with that is that they use a lot of energy. And when I say a lot of energy, when I was with Appalachian Power, the biggest generating units we had were a couple of our coal units, 1,300 megawatts. We've got data centers that are asking for that amount of load. The second challenge with the data center is that they use a lot of water. Why do they use a lot of water? Well, if you think back to your physics classes, you don't destroy energy, you convert it. So if you're going to suck up a gigawatt of electricity, it's going to be converted into heat. And you got to do something with that heat. So you need a lot of electricity and you need a lot of water. Another good thing is that the data center industry is working on the cooling issue, trying to get better solutions rather than just using water and dumping it back in the ground. And I'll let Whitney speak about the electricity issue. I know she gets requests all the time for it. Because again, we all want the data centers. We all use the data centers, and by the way, it doesn't cost you anything to use the data centers. But we really need to be ready as a community for the data center. Let me give you some facts. examples. Recently, one of the first things I worked on here at Proffitt was a data center proposal in Pennsylvania County. It was being proposed in some farmland, immediately adjacent to a high-pressure gas line, so you had lots of energy there. But it was not well received because it was perceived that we're eating up all the farmland. And so that is, that's why it didn't immediately get approved. It's not completely dead, but it's close. Contrast that with Botetourt County. Botetourt County has an industrial park called Greenfield. Some of you have been there, I'm sure. And Google has decided that they're going to, well, what they officially said was that they're also land. You can read into that whatever you want. And here's the truth about Greenfield. Greenfield started 30 years ago. You know Delegate Terry Austin, he was on the planning commission way back when that started. Was there any pushback in Botetourt County about that? No. So, as we try to grow, by the way, I believe most local governments would like to have a data center to set the tax revenue. It doesn't produce a lot of jobs, I get that, but it does produce a lot of tax revenue. If you are in a community that would think that they would like to have a data center, then you need to get ready now. And Whitney already mentioned about industrial sites. The time to start, well, you hear that old adage, when was the best time to plant an oak tree? Yesterday. What's the second best time to plant an oak tree? Today. So I would just encourage all of us to get behind the idea of deciding where as a community we want to have these kind of facilities in the airport. And then, of course, the last piece is called Proffitt, so we
Thanks, Larry. You keep. So I really love it when I hear people talking about economic development projects because that usually equates to you're going to see something. And so I'll tell you that the site selectors oftentimes are flying from site to site to site. When we talk about rail announcements, I can almost always count on these 2 airplanes, maybe 3 coming into the airport for a rail announcement. And that's how connected our transportation modes are to economic development. So interestingly, out of the airport, so that airport's been out there since the 1930s. So we're approaching 95 plus years old. So our airport has some very old infrastructure, and then the runway extension completed in 2020, that was a huge project. We were just talking about the standpoint of how so many players had to be involved in getting that project done. That project was tied in together with the Southgate interchange project. It's the reason why Southgate does that and has that and that is because of that runway extension. We were able to take that runway from 4,500 feet to 5,500 feet. So what that means is that every Fortune 500 company that is operating today has at least one airplane that can come to our airport to come visit us. And so we have really, that airport has continued to evolve in a lot of different ways in that 95 years. And that's sort of where we're at right now, is we're on a little bit of an evolution in that we've had some very rapid growth in the last 5 years. With the runway extension, I've paved almost 3 acres of new apron aircraft parking space. I needed that for the football games. Metallica, I had 53 airplanes in for Metallica. 53 airplanes for one night. I sold 5,000 gallons of fuel that night. I needed that 3 additional acres of apron space to be able to park. We've built 2 additional hangars. One was an executive hangar that's 11,700 square foot. Corporate hangar go up to 7,700 square foot. So we are, I guess the best way I could describe it is we are catching up to where we should have been almost 10 years ago. And we're doing that in a rapid fashion. And so our next phase, our next big thing on the cusp that we're doing right now is we are doing our master plan. And a master plan is like a comprehensive plan for the future. What is the airport going to look like in the next 20 years? Where are we going to be able to put buildings? What additional infrastructures are we going to need? Where are we going to have our parking lots, our roadways? What type of sewer, water, other connections are we going to have? So right now we're in the process of doing our master plan. which is really important for the future of the airport. So some of our quick growth that we've had, such as the building of buildings and apron space and things of that nature, we're finally getting to the back end of those construction projects so that now we can take a little bit of a pause and look to the future to see what we're going to be able to accomplish.
Keith, you said 53 aircraft for Metallica.
Yes.
How does that compare to football games? So people,
It was right on par. So our biggest football game last year was 56. And what was interesting about Metallica is it was spread out throughout the entire day. Usually with a football game, it is busy up until an hour before kickoff. Kickoff happens, nothing happens at the airport. I actually feed my staff. We fuel all the airplanes between kickoff and halftime, and then usually after halftime we start getting to the departure. So we usually have a lull on a football game. We did not have a lull during Metallica, and I also did not have the full amount of my staffing that I would typically have, because my high school kids had AP exams the next day. The college kids were either all at the concert or studying for exams, and then my seasonal help that I bring in for football games. I bring in about an additional 6 people seasonally just for football games. They had their real jobs that they had to go to because it was midweek. So we were really challenged that day, but we accomplished it extremely well because of the football games. We ran it and operated it in a very similar fashion. My staff pretty much knew if I pointed to an airplane and went like this, I mean, that meant that airplane was going over to those folks that were going. Pointed at that airplane and went like this, it's going to that direction. So it's sort of like being impromptu air traffic control.
David, have you heard of Interstate 81?
I was just going to bring that up.
That might be on your big thing list.
I kind of want to know what the most significant thing with VDOT in the area is Interstate 81. And good news is the work that's there in kind of the West Salem area is about done. But if you don't like construction zones on the interstate, the bad news is it's just going to move down a little way. There are more projects. We all know it needs to be done. We're just going to have to work around it. But that is definitely a big topic. In fact, that's on our infrastructure committee. That's what it says next to my name. This is the 81 updates on Kevin's agenda. It's on the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors agenda each time too, if not officially, but Ms. Biggs always asks about 81 as well. So yeah, the 137, I guess, 137, 140 is nearing completion. You might be able to tell. And then the next one is going to be from 143, from the 581 exit to 150 Travel Daleville exit. That's coming up here pretty soon. There's a section 128 that would be, 128 is right about the Toronto exit, so near the rest area there, to where this current project is beginning. If you go to 137, that'll be starting soon, probably sometime next year. They're all kind of design, build type projects. So while if you look at the VDOT contract, the contract may be already in place, but you won't see a lot of dirt being turned for a while. And then 116, which is up here at Christiansburg, and 118 is Christiansburg exit. They call it 116 because you extend it a little further to get the ramps and everything in. But basically 118 to 128, the part down the mountain, just the north part, that's not until about 2030. So it's going to be quite a while. But did we bring that? That's kind of the big stuff. Once you get used to the orange barrels and cones and everything out on 81. Just kind of locally, we have a land development section that works out of my office. Jesse Miller works with a lot of developers, works with the county a lot. Development along Pipersbury Road, development on Price's Fork. We deal with a lot of that. It's a subdivision that's going to be maintained by VDOT. We have to make sure the streets are built to standards. When we take over, taking over a good road, the entrances to the current road has to be adequate. And so Jesse and his staff works through all of that in development. And then the other thing is just trying to get some other big projects. Everyone on this infrastructure panel knows that there are more needs than money. So it's a matter of trying to get the funds, but we'd like them.
Thank you, David. Whitney.
So you guys may have listened when we were doing our introductions, there was another thing Kevin didn't touch on, and it was the fact that a lot of us transitioned into our roles during the pandemic period. And I think there was a reason why, because there was just so much change that was occurring in our economies. There were so many new opportunities that were emerging, and the way that a lot of industries were doing business was also rapidly changing. That has been true, and it's a big driver of the work that I'm doing day to day, and it's most significant. It's just the amount of change that we've seen in a very short period of time. We are an industry that has been around a long time. Appalachian Power has been in Virginia since 1911, and for a long time, the rate of change in our industry was kept to a period where, as an industry need was changing, we engineered, designed, and built the solution to accommodate that need. What you're seeing right now playing out all across America is those windows of things, of those macro trends that changed in 15 to 20 years are now being consolidated to 3, 5, 7 year kind of windows. As Larry mentioned, even just preparing a site from a raw field to something that can support a business, no matter what type of business, it's still going to take many months just to go through the basics of essential development. Larry mentioned data. Yes, we're seeing a lot of opportunities, but we're seeing this level of change across industrial customers. We're seeing it across commercial customers. Their needs for electric utility service are rapidly changing. It's not unique to our territory. It's not unique to the Commonwealth. It's a national change. And with that, a lot of what I'm doing right now is going out and talking to our state, regional, and local economic development professionals about understanding some of what is this change and why, and how we can work as a partner to help you prepare for that. So it's a lot of education and a lot of just pivoting. Economic developers, though, are some of the best professionals in the business community in general for being flexible and able to pivot. So I'm proud that, you guys should feel proud. A lot of your regional folks are really learning and responding to a lot and helping to inform a pivot. That being said, it's not exclusive to electricity. It's really becoming a site development topic in general. And it's understanding how do your existing sites fit into a portfolio of what industry is looking for. Because even, a manufacturing project, if it was 5 megawatts, it was huge before the pandemic. The numbers you're seeing right now in the national industry is even an industrial project is a lot more significant. And then when you talk data or even larger commercial projects, you're getting at a level that would be multiple large industrial facilities in the past. So that's a real change. Beyond that, you've got to think about how does that align with your sites. Is the site the right size? Do you have the right water? Do you have sewer? Do you have all the secret ingredients? But how does that fit with your community vision? And that's one thing that I'm very excited that we're helping to work with a lot of our partners, both on the panel as well as our communities, because it really does affect us all. But we don't have the luxury of time right now to capture opportunities. We've got to be flexible. We've got to be proactive. If you want to compete, you can't just sit around and wait. And we're here to help in any way we can to help them from that process.
Whitney, thanks for sharing that theme of the change of economic development landscape. Because it used to be that if you had a large parcel, then industry would come. And the New River Valley put together the New River Valley Commerce Park in Dublin, 1,000 acres. When that was a symbol, the idea was that, boy, we have this large acreage and people are going to come right away. But quickly changed. Well, now you have water and sewer. Well, now you have gas, and then it's broadband. And now electric is such a big factor of that. And what your energy supply can be. And here you increase demand for water. It's interesting too, Larry. So I'll share with you all that Leo Pritting organization is working with Onward New River Valley, Katie and her team on a site evaluation project. So we have funding from Virginia to work with all of our communities in the region to identify where their sites are and how to help them get that next level so we're continuing to work, and I know Whitney and others will be involved with us and helping them what those site needs are. So Todd.
You also have to have housing.
Yes, you gotta have some people live in.
So, Whitney, we are one of the oldest industries, and I think our industry dates back to the caveman. Affordability is our topic. We think about it every day, every hour. We talk about it in our organization. It's always investing in improved systems, improved software, improved procedures. We really are a manufacturing company, so we look at ourselves as a Toyota and a lean manufacturing, because everything that we do has to be done to cut out any waste. The days of a homeowner having 3 dumpsters of lumber to throw away, those are over. You will not survive in this industry for very long. So rest assured, us and other builders like us are working every day to take that kind of waste out of it. Aside from that, on the affordability standpoint, though, we really have 2 other main drivers. Regulations and fees. 25% of every new home that is sold comes back to codes that have been updated in the last 5 years. More permits, fees, tap fees, taxes, and so forth. So we work every day. We have one of our employees who's in the room here today at breakfast with the governor earlier this week. We're very involved with helping to educate our political leaders, especially in Richmond, to understand the impact of certain regulations and certain codes and certain laws that take place. And that's very important, and I think it's important for us also to educate everyone in this room and everyone out there that, that especially, I think, parents that have 20-something-year-old kids that can't afford a home anymore. We've gone from about the last 15 years, the average age of buying a first new home was 28. Today it's 38 on the national level. And I think I said this in another meeting we had here when I was on the panel. There's a lot of socioeconomic pain and or impact from that statistic that everyone needs to be mindful of. The third thing that I would say is lot availability, and that comes in a lot of different things. It takes us, in some cases, 5+ years to go through the rezoning process, the design process, and it comes with many, sometimes angry residents that we might be building near their home. We get threats, we hear every type of reaction that you can imagine out there. And then you go through a year after you do get it approved, and sometimes that takes a year and a half, 18 months. We've had one that took about 3 years. After that, there's a year and a half of engineering design. So you can't just today go out, look at a piece of property, and say, look, we're going to build 200 homes here. Well, we're going to build 200 homes there over the next 15 years. That's how you have to look at it. That's how long it takes. On top of that, infrastructure and sewer capacity, water capacity, electric, gas. I would say sewer capacity is the thing we've grown up on the most. It's not a really great topic. I was talking earlier to some folks in the room. No one really wants to have their taxpayer money necessarily going into sewer projects, right? That's not really cool. That's not real fun to even talk about. So we have a tendency as a, and it's not, obviously it's not in just this community, we have a tendency across the country not to invest in the future of those infrastructure projects. And I think we're going to pay the price for it. We're paying the price for it today. So there's a lot of availability in helping streamline that process and investing in the infrastructure projects that will allow and designate those areas where we want growth.
So another theme here is these things all take quite a bit of time, a lot of planning. So, Mike, what's happening your way today?
So I wear a lot of hats, as you can imagine. There's probably 50 things there to talk about. But we've got a lot of positive things going on in this region right now, economically. We've got a lot of positive things going on at the airport. Record voyage last year, new service to Sarasota by Allegiant. Starting next month, a new flight to Chicago by American, which You know, a lot of folks sit back and say, well, we already had Chicago service with United, we already have American, so what's the big deal? The big deal is we've been having American for years now to get that Dallas-Fort Worth service. They are down gates in Dallas. There are a lot of cities bigger than us that don't have Dallas service. So we're not at the top of their list there yet, but they see that potential. One way they can tap that is to put a westward connecting point like Chicago in there and see how well we respond to it, including not only booking it, but booking first class. These are businesses. They're looking for money. How do they make the most money they can with that airplane? So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and really that, I'm going to drift off into something I don't think I'll get questions on later, or maybe questions on some other little things we're doing, but we just rolled out a new brand. And the airport now, we didn't change our name officially, but the airport name now is Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport. Why do we do that? We keep on running, so I was glad we did that. Because it's two of the three biggest MSAs, metropolitan statistic areas in the region. We're marketing that airport and this region to the airlines. It was a good time for us to do that. We got a website that is extremely old and clunky. Closest we could tell is, we think Alan Moore developed it right after he did the internet. But we rolled out the new website, so we put a fresh new brand on it. That allows us to go out and kind of say something new's going on. There's something different. And Alexa Brill, back in the room here, our marketing PR manager, has done an excellent job on that, along with our partners at Access U. But we're out marketing to the airlines constantly. We have a lot of hats. It's like running a little city in a lot of ways. We have to do all the infrastructure. And most of our projects, if we do something big, it's going to take us anywhere from 2 to 20 years in a lot of cases. And you've got to put building blocks in there. But you've got to keep that forward momentum going. And that's a lot of what our logo is forward and up. I look at my notes to see what I'll put in there. But in that new website, we put a new tool called Fly My Airport. Nothing unique about having a booking tool on a website, except this one will, first it'll tell you how well can you get somewhere out of Roanoke, but it'll also tell you if you have a better fare out of another airport. We're not trying to hide anything. It's the airline's business to keep the fares down. But the biggest thing that it does, it gives us the data behind that to tell us what are people looking for. So that helps us, because every time we get on the road and drive to another airport, back in 20, and they're updating, the Department of Aviation is updating their economic impact study right now, but the last time it was updated, looking back to 2016, 2017, Roanoke-Blacksburg economic impact was about $500 million. And that's been quite a few years ago, and a lot's changed. So we expect the new numbers that are coming out next year to be quite a bit bigger. That's my primary job. We are an economic engine for the region. We don't, the airport doesn't drive traffic. It doesn't get airlines to fly here. The region gets the airlines to fly here. We have to get that airport ready to be able to handle it. And that's what we're focused on. So there's a lot of things that I would say that are significant. But most significant right now is for us to keep that positive momentum, that positive brand, sell ourselves to the airlines to give that new service. Number one destination right now that we're looking for is Dallas, and then Byrd is right there with it. We have about 75 people a day that fly between here, this region, when I say here, within 2 hours far away. We have about 75 people a day that fly 2 Dallas or 2 Denver. That's not enough to get a 150-seat airplane, folks. So what you need is those connections beyond Dallas, but beyond Denver, which makes American and United primarily the two big targets there. Southwest would be, except they can't seem to get other problems straightened out right now. So we continue to work that. We have other markets where we would love to have service. The folks down at the research center will tell you that they need Boston service. We have about the same number of people, about 75 people a day that fly between this area of Boston. Again, not enough to get an airline excited, especially in the Boston market where all their gates are full and cities everywhere are looking for that Boston service. So we're looking at, well, what about Providence? Or how do we tie something together here to get people in Boston and want to fly to Roanoke? So a lot of that's going on right now. We're out talking to Breeze. We're out talking to Frontier. All those ways to try to build more air service. But there's a fine balance. If we get service, number one unserved destination, by the way, is South Florida. But there's not enough traffic going there, nor enough revenue to get some of the airlines to even talk to us. Someone like Breeze or Legion, well, we could fly Fort Lauderdale. The trick is we've got to keep enough traffic on those legacy carriers, American, United, and Delta, for that daily multi-service to the hubs. Because that's what all of our businesses need, is connectivity to the global aviation system. That's the most important thing. If you remember when HQ2 was being looked at by Amazon, number one criteria has got to be close to a large international airport. For whatever reason, they skipped my airport out the country and went down by the river. But that's what businesses are looking for. I was out at the Google announcement. Those folks didn't drive into the area to talk about that site for 2 years. They've been flying in and out of the airport. So that's the important thing. I think the most significant thing we're working on right now is continuing to be your advocates for air service, continue to be your economic engine. And I apologize for my voice this morning. It was doing pretty good until I got up here.
Like one thing that you mentioned there is that the name of the airport is marketing the region, Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport. Something we haven't talked about a lot, the passenger rail, is anytime you've ridden a subway or a train, you realize that the end point, where your direction you're going, is the name that is on that sign. If you think about it, our service being end of the line, and this service will connect up to Boston. So anywhere along that line, if you're going south, you're going to see Near Valley, Virginia on the message board. That is impressive name recognition, and to a lot of eyes, they're going to have a name that they've not known before. So that's pretty exciting. A lot of marketing in the region. So we have 8 minutes left of our session, and I want to make sure you all have an opportunity to ask questions. And if you have a question, go ahead and take it now. If not, they have another question they can respond to. Anybody have questions for our panel? Yes.
Good morning. My name is Wednesday. I serve as the Chief Facilities Officer for Virginia Tech. I don't have a question. You want me to read the back? That's okay. But I wanted to respond today to Clarke's comment about VDOT third parts country as far as you may not be aware of Virginia Tech is county road 14. And so unlike Blacksburg, Christiansburg, that have to maintain their own road system, VDOT actually maintains the Tech road system. We do our own snow removal.
So I was going to say, with a lot of help from Virginia Tech.
Well, what I wanted to do is just take this public forum's opportunity to acknowledge the tremendous partnership you all with the university. We obviously focus on doing road repaving, restriping, during the summer months. Even though you've got this big project all day long going on, you always seem to make a priority for us to be able to do all our needs. I just want to say thank you for your job.
Thank you. Thank you, Wes. Yes, Alan.
As a board member of Ward Moore, I have to ask this question. Is there any, I don't know who's doing this, actually maybe you haven't, but that road between Southgate and Merrimack, is there any momentum on that?
David, you want to address that?
Yeah, I thought about bringing that up. Probably the next question I was going to ask about what's on the horizon. And there's a lot of projects that we have in mind but no funding for. One of them is a connector road between the current Southgate interchange and Price's Fork Road, way down Price's Fork Road, like in the Price's Fork Village kind of area. So we go through Merrimack. There's been the Metropolitan Planning Organization has done a location study, and that's all there's been funding for is these location studies. There'll be more design to come, and I know, I believe the executive director of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, his name is Dan Rubeney, worked for him for 10 years, is been, in fact, I think he's fielding questions this week about that issue. Where might the connector points be? We don't want to get into that.
Right. That's important that study was done because it preserves the corridor through there. Virginia Tech has a fair amount of property, and they've done a recent project, so it's all identified, the roadway corridor through there. So got to have that preserved first. That's the case. Any other questions for our group here? Yes.
It's not like a silly question, but this question is for Mike. And is it the airline or is it the airport that sets the layovers?
Connecting towns and hubs. it's an airline function. They will typically set it, and having been in Charlotte for years in my former life and Philadelphia and Washington, they will typically set it as short as they can set it because they're trying to make as many connections as they can do. So when they put out those flights in a reservation system or to a travel agent or Google when you pull up their flights, whatever they set that time to be, they won't show you any connections that are sooner than that. So even though you know there's a flight to Boston leaving in 29 minutes after you get there, if their connecting time, minimum connecting time is 30 minutes, it's not going to show up on that search. So they'll try to set it as short as they can. So I encourage people all the time, having been there in just about all these places, look at your own capability to kind of get between gates. And in Charlotte, that's becoming a challenge anymore. And I don't pick on Charlotte because it's just one of the places. But look at whether or not that time they're giving you is realistic or not. In some cases, you'll see connecting times as 4 hours. Typically, you're not going to see them more than 4 hours unless it is a marketed overnight or something like that. But that again is making sure that you see all the possibilities of connecting out there. But they're going to try to make sure that whatever the travel time is from when you leave until whenever you get where you're going is better than a competitor would be through another city or even through the same hub.
I mean, I've flown that runway several times, but I was mindful of connecting to Charlotte or Atlanta because it's a terrible feeling to see that plane leave and you can't get off the plane, it's not.
Absolutely, and even though we've got great service to Charlotte, I mean, it's the sixth busiest airport in the world now. We've got different times of the year, it's working 5 to 8 flights a day, which is great connectivity. But that concourse where they parked our airplane was the employee parking lot when I was down there. It's a long way in most of those other gates out there.
Yeah, it's a fast sprint from gate E something to the rest numerous times. Wheels on luggage are wild. Other questions for our group? These are great.
Just with AAP, what are you all doing in terms of projects, major projects?
Question, in case you couldn't hear it behind him, was what's AEP doing for major projects to meet the demand?
First and foremost, we're strengthening up everything we got as much as we can in the process. So grid resiliency, grid modernization. I'll be happy to point you to a list of some transmission projects. We have a website, AEP Transmission, which describes all the projects that we're doing all over our service territories of 11 states within the AEP system. Appalachian Power, we're doing a lot of work just across the board on, first and foremost for us, safety is very important. Operating a safe system, operating a reliable system. That's really fundamental for us being able to continue to support the growth. As we have new opportunities for larger customers, we build a solution to accommodate what their needs are. And that varies all across the board. We have done a lot of work, though, to ensure a couple of our very key industrial sites in Virginia are prepared to be able to respond. That took some special legislation. That process all goes through the State Corporation Commission. It's a public process. But first and foremost, I'd be happy to put you to some specific examples if you want to talk off to the side, but generally that's the best source of public information for the larger transmission projects as they come on.
Time for one more question. Well, please join me in thanking our panelists today. Come on back up. And aside from your role as being the membership director for the chamber, she's also a dean of Leadership in River Valley. And every year, this is a terrific program. So thank you for your extra time on that role.
Before we allow Marianne to close us out, I would be remiss if I didn't have you all start thinking about cheeseburgers at 9:30 a.m. You need to start thinking about it because on August 9th, here at Warm Hearth. They do their Cheeseburger in Paradise event, an ode to Jimmy Buffett. We all love Jimmy, right? So it's a great event. I am honored to be serving as a judge for the cheeseburger competition. So I love some pimento cheese for anyone that's listening that's entering that competition. But I just want to thank Warm Heart. They're just a great supporter of the chamber. And so if you all are interested in learning more about how you can contribute or purchase tickets for this event, they're on sale right now, August 9th. So I just wanted to plug those delicious cheeseburgers August 9th here at Warm Heart. So thanks for the time.
Thank you everybody for joining us, and we would like to thank our sponsor, First Bank and Trust. If you're interested, our next Eggs and Issues will be on August 26th, where we'll hear from Tom Barkin, President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. This is a really popular Eggs and Issues, so if you're interested, I encourage you to go online if you haven't already gotten your tickets to the Chamber website to get your tickets. Also, speaking of leadership New River Valley Class has partnered with Montgomery County's Department of Social Services to help collect items for their foster closet. Every year, leadership does a project. It used to be Legacy Project, we moved it to Community Project, and this is their project this year. And they are collecting things. If you go online to the Chamber site, it will tell you what items you can donate, and the Chamber is a drop-off site. So please, I encourage you to participate in that. There's also a blood drive on July 18th from 10 to 2 at the Montgomery County Chamber office, and you can go to the site to get more information on that as well. Thank you for attending today, and welcome